Buckle up for another episode of Ghostfacers, a supernatural rewatch podcast. My name is Richard, and sitting shotgun, as always, is my brother.
Just keep going. I'm just going to keep
podcasting.
I'm just putting a little bit of mortar on these bricks. Don't worry. I'm just going to keep working on this.
It's getting really dark in here.
No, it's all right. You just keep going.
I don't feel so good.
Oh, that's probably just the off-gassing from all this mortar. Don't worry. I'm almost done with this wall.
Oh,
you won't even see me when it's done.
Yeah,
But
shouldn't I be on the other side of that wall?
And last brick.
Let's get out of here.
Ghostfacers! We're facing ghosts! We're others, we're not! We're ghosts! Ghostfacers! Stay in the kitchen when the kitchen gets hot! Ghostfacers! We're facing nightmare! We're facing dread! Ghostfacers! We're facing faceless! We're facing dead!
Welcome to Ghostfacers. Today we're discussing Season 2, Episode number 7, The Usual Suspects. Yeah. But before we get into it, we've got Kevin Spacey. No.
I'm Kaiser Sose.
Yeah, what a Kaiser Sose twist.
Yeah.
No, we are joined by one of my favorite people, host of the Bleav soap opera podcast. We have Lacretia Lyon.
Yes, that is me. And I think for once I could say that people probably did want to hear me over Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, I would say always.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know for once. I feel like his goodwill has run out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the thing is I feel like all of us were big Kevin Spacey fans in the 90s. Like he was like the go-to actor when you're thinking about it. And then some stuff happened and now we're like, yeah. You know, we wish it was you instead of Christopher Plummer.
yeah, exactly.
Now maybe I don't think that this is a good idea.
I think that's the cringiest part was like, oh, there's allegations out about me. What if I make a fun little video where I play my character? That'll win them back. It's like, oh, Jesus, man.
Because what's less threatening than a deep South accent like this from a white man?
I am taking this seriously. That's why I'm playing a character
who is clearly innocent, like when I pushed that girl in front of a train.
Yeah, it was a whole host of fun. It would be like if I mean, I don't even know what else it would be like, I guess. It would be like if Liam Neeson did that weird rant, but as Ra's al Ghul, or like as like Qui-Gon Jinn or something. He was like, "Oh, I walked the streets with my lightsaber. I was just looking for anyone."
Or like Bill Cosby making like a joke about like putting something into a girl's drink. Oh wait, no, didn't he actually do that?
He did,
yeah.
Lacretia, we've talked at length about Supernatural with you, but never on this show. I've been on your podcast to talk about Supernatural.
Yes.
Maybe if you could tell us a bit about your experience with the show and like when did you start watching it and sort of how's that fandom gone for you?
Oh, yeah, because like you guys, I love me some Supernatural.
Oh, yeah.
But I have to say, just like with my soap operas, which Supernatural is just a soap opera, it was on longer than some soap operas, let's face it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are times where you break up or you separate and then you come back together. So I started out like when it first started watching it because it was still the WB at the time and they were putting out pretty good content, as we talked about Smallville before. We know how we feel about that.
Definitely.
But yeah, when the CW happened, it was great. Some of these shows transitioned over, merged with the UPN. Well, I am a bit of a principled person, and I dig in on a lot of things. And when it comes, oh yeah, I know, shocking. But so when the CW canceled Veronica Mars and Reaper, I felt the need to not watch the network as a whole, despite loving shows like Supernatural.
That Reaper one killed me, yeah.
Yeah, it was so good. And Veronica
really
Mars, well, the third season wasn't as good as the first two. It was still good.
Totally.
And, thanks to Glow, we've forgiven Chris Lowell and Glow and Enlisted because the biz of it all is probably why.
Oh, yeah. I miss Enlisted.
So good. Well, but then the CW decided to air my dad's favorite childhood superheroes, The Flash and The Green Arrow, and give them their own shows. And so, of course, I had to come back, and I came back to it all. I then was a 5-night-a-week CW watcher, and that includes Supernatural.
Yes.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, it's true. Hot guys, hot show.
Well, oh, yeah. I mean, because hot guys, hot cars, hot music. It's just a hot show. And then the fact that it's all on Netflix. I mean, as you guys know, as we've talked about, like I binged all of Supernatural during the pandemic because when else are you going to have time to watch that?
That was when I watched it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the beginning.
I had only seen like an episode or a couple of episodes. And then I was like, I have nothing but time and a Prime account. And so then I just went through all of it during the pandemic.
Went deep for sure.
Oh yeah. And now I'm on a podcast every week talking about it. Yeah.
Oh my God. I love that so much. That's amazing. All right. Well, if you're good with it, Lacretia, let's actually start talking about this show and this episode.
Oh yeah.
So this episode specifically aired November 9th, 2006, written by Catherine Humphrey, directed by Mike Roll, with an estimated viewer of 3.19 million. So that's not bad.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
That's sort of where we're holding at this sort of point in time.
But let's talk about our favorite section here.
Yeah.
International titles.
The international titles. Right?
So I spanned the globe and found all the international titles that this episode
So
had.
it's the usual suspects.
Yes. So the usual suspects. I mean, we all, I mean, I don't know how big that movie was internationally, but maybe that translates into a title because there's not any sort of like nomenclature or anything.
A phrase though, too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like the usual suspects is even like a sort of cliche phrase in like Casablanca and stuff. He says that you'll round up the usual suspects. All that
Exactly.
Kind of,
So who got it right on the money? A lot.
okay.
The Finns, German,
Okay.
Poland, Italy, all got it.
Sure.
Usual suspects.
Okay.
But France.
Oh, France.
Oh, France.
I'm gonna say.
Jinx.
I'm gonna say France did something like Scary Lady.
No. But
Or like weirdo, like the weird guys or something. 'Cause, you know.
the one thing we can always expect from France is that it's going to be like poetic,
Right.
for sure. The French title for this is The Hand of Justice.
Holy shit. Oh my God. Like Batman v Superman, the Hand of Justice.
The Hand of Justice.
Yeah, and then
Holy
for some reason it
shit.
said hashtag Blue Lives Matter. I don't know.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
It's very pro-police, that title.
The Hand of Justice. God, easy on the gas pedal there, France.
But you know who always brings the money?
Hungary.
Oh yeah, Hungary. We can always get the juice from Hungary
All right, what do we got?
on the prisoner's box.
What?
Wow. On the prisoner's box?
I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, I'm like, that actually sounds pretty dirty because he was sleeping with the drug dealer. It's like, ooh, that's pretty pornographic. I mean,
that's
Hungary,
that's
they
more
must
like
be
that's more like
pervs.
in the prisoner's box, am I right?
God, we're cool.
On the prisoner's box?
Yeah.
Ugh.
God, is that just like a phrase in Hungary?
Maybe. Yeah. They had so many prisoners that
All
they had to
of
start
our-
sitting on top
Yeah.
of the actual prisons.
All of our listeners in Budapest, hit us up.
Yeah, I believe I know an actress who I believe her parents were from Hungary. I'm gonna ask her this, and we'll get an
Please.
update.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yes. We
I
need a
I would love a little follow-up pup about that.
Yeah. I love that. That's amazing. Featured music from this episode. None. There is no soundtrack for this episode. There is, of course, like composition and stuff, but there's no like featured songs.
God, I didn't even clock that.
Yeah,
rewatching
isn't that
it.
really
It's so funny.
interesting? This is the second time that's happened in
Yeah.
the series so far.
Wasn't the last time Home?
I think it was. Yeah.
It was that one because it was about the mom and the house and all that kind of stuff.
I always wonder how that gets chosen, because it's like it seems arbitrary sometimes. Home makes
Do you
sense.
think it's
but-
because they were
Yeah.
like, this is a big one. We got Linda Blair.
Maybe.
Let's
Yeah.
like just focus on that.
And
I'm
more
saying-
of like The Exorcist, like a lot of throwbacks would be a score, which is nice. And I did love, like, as you're saying Home, I'm thinking of X-Files and this whole X-Files because, you know, Kim Manners.
Yes.
Too, like, it's just like, yeah, lots of latent little Easter eggs there.
Yeah,
Totally. Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, really interesting, right? But let's go. What does TV Guide say about this episode?
Sure.
Sam and Dean find themselves in police custody with Dean accused of murder. But one of the detectives, Linda Blair, becomes convinced that there is a supernatural angle to this case.
I don't want to go like too crazy on this tangent, but did anybody else watching this look at Linda Blair and briefly feel like she had a bit of a look and voice in common with like Yardley Smith?
Yes.
A little bit, yeah.
Because I was watching it and I was like, for a second I forgot it was Linda Blair and I was like, is that
Yardley
Lisa
Smith?
Simpson? And then I was like, no, that's not Yardley. I was like, no, completely wrong thing there. But yeah, I had that moment watching this.
I have a unique sort of experience with Linda Blair.
Oh, how good for you! Sorry.
Wow, out of fucking left field. No, because I watched Poltergeist, right?
No, Exorcist.
Exorcist.
The
Sorry.
Exorcist.
I've seen The Exorcist, but that's not really my point with her. Like for me, there was a TV show in the 90s where it was like one of the original sort of like paranormal documentary shows. Yeah, and she was the host of it.
What was the show?
It was like Most Haunted Places or something
really?
like that.
Yeah, it was like one of those haunting shows because, my dad loved that crap. So we would always watch that, like any of those little hauntings. Because we used to even go on vacation to places like Jefferson, Texas, because the Jefferson Hotel is super haunted. Or
Your dad rules.
Yeah. But it's fun going to supposedly haunted places and hanging out.
Man, that's cool as hell.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And there's nothing alarming at all about a person that dedicates their time and energy to like looking for haunted places.
Hey guys, I didn't say he was a good dad. But I won't speak ill of the dead.
Oh my god. Oh no.
I was like, wait, have I gotten this too dark?
Is he going to haunt us now? Oh no.
Oh my god. Wow.
That's
I think
amazing.
you're referring to
his sister
Ghost
did
Hunting
haunt
Job,
us, but yeah, I was like, Job, yeah, no.
not her specific
Oh,
fathering.
of course not. No.
Yeah. I was like,
I don't know him. I have a feeling like later tonight I'm going to know him. He's going to show up with chains and Jacob Marley me or something. But it's like,
let me know if you see a guy who looks a lot like Steve Perry from Journey, and then I'll let. That's him.
If I see him, the first question will be, "Sing any way you want it," and then if he refuses to do that, I'll be like, "Oh, you're Lacretia's dad."
Yeah. If you just hear like "Forever Yours," you're like, "Oh my god, it's Steve Perry again!"
Amazing.
Wow, that's incredible. Before we get into our thoughts on today's actual episode, though, let's open up Dad's journal and learn some of the real world lore on today's monster.
Yeah, let's see what the lore says about death omens.
Ooh.
Yeah. So they're also, known as like portents or presages or stuff like that. They're phenomena that are believed to predict the future. That's omens generally, but obviously a death omen is about predicting death. In many cultures, omens were believed to be messages sent from the gods, and they were usually in the form of like natural occurrences.
Or like presidents coming into power.
Oh no. Oh no. They're usually set in the form of natural occurrences to give advance warnings of things to come, good or bad. So common forms of omen divination include hepatoscopy, which is analyzing abnormalities in sheep entrails.
Wow, that seems like a fake word and a fake job.
Or libanomancy,
Like
which is observation and interpretation of incense smoke. Or there's also liver divination, or haruspicy, or haruspicy. I'm not sure how to pronounce that word. I can't imagine it's haruspicy, but
these are all sound like jobs that someone's like kooky aunt has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like definitely your aunt that has just cats, never had any
Yes.
kids.
Yeah. Aunt Crystal is really into liver divination.
Yeah. She took a course online.
And the incense thing, I'm like, is this someone just trying to bust people for smoking pot? Like,
No, it's libanomancy, man.
Yeah.
No.
I've got a certificate from DeVry.
I suppose this is a trade.
Yeah.
So these particular practices are recorded to have occurred as far back as like ancient Babylonia and Mesopotamia. But similar or identical divination practices are recorded in ancient Rome and Greece. So there's a very famous real-life Roman. His name is Marcus Licinius Crassus. He's the bad guy in Spartacus. He's the guy that put down the slave revolt. He's the third part of the triumvirate with Julius Caesar and Pompey Magnus.
Oh, wow.
I thought you meant Rush. I know you're sorry. The Holy Triumvirate is Rush.
Yeah. So Neil,
I appreciate you keeping it Canadian for us.
Yeah.
Neil Peart.
Okay. I gotcha.
So Licinius Crassus, he engaged in what is like one of the most disastrous military campaigns in Roman history, where he went into like Syria to invade Parthia. And when he was leaving, a shopkeep shouted Kauneus, which means like,
give me back my banana.
No, it means like that he was selling like Kaunean figs. But it could be heard as Cave ne eas, which means beware, don't go. This is like a possible omen, because he went over there. Not only was his army wiped out, his son was killed, but he was also like brought to the Parthians. They poured molten gold down his throat and then cut off his head. He was like Shakespeareanly killed.
Yeah, that is cool. Like,
So that phrase either means beware, don't go, or what was the...
Or that he was selling Kaunean figs.
So the amount of like potential issues I could provide.
It's not the same words. It's that it could be misheard as...
That's what I mean, though. Like
Yeah.
that the amount of just like someone yelling something and they're like...
But
like,
you know what? I still think that's a good sales pitch. If you're selling figs and you go, beware, don't go, take these.
you say it twice?
Yeah.
Beware,
and
don't
then
go.
Candyman appears.
Figs. Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, you can only say it twice.
Yeah, Mr. Fig show up.
Unless the fig man comes. Yes, but that's the Battle of Carrhae. It's like one of the worst Roman defeats ever. Caligula dreamt that he stood before Jupiter and then was kicked down by the god, and he was assassinated the next day.
Oh my God.
So like those are a couple of examples of like Roman related omens. There are different kinds of
Roman omens?
Sorry?
Roman omens?
Roman omens?
Roman omen?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Roman
Romans. Yeah, I can't just say Romans. It doesn't-
Roman omen?
Roman.
There are different kinds of omens. They include-
Roman omen.
Jesus Christ. You
That's what I was
son
thinking
of a
too.
bitch.
Same page.
Now I'm gonna have that in my head this whole goddamn
Roman omen.
episode.
It's okay. I was still trying to think of which lesbian prison movies Linda Blair was in, and then I was like, yeah, they have similar names. Pink Heat and Red Heat. So we can get off the song for a bit. I was like, yep.
Both are actually types of figs, though.
Yeah.
Yep, totally. Go with the figs.
Good
It
word.
was like a double entendre that we had no idea about until this moment.
I love that. I love a secret double on top.
Yeah.
So different kinds of omens could include cries of certain animals, or certain patterns in stars, or facial shape, or like kind of like phrenology kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, I love
reading
that.
reading of tea leaves or tarot. These are all like forms of omen divination. In the Bible, one of the Magi predicts the birth of Jesus by seeing the Star of Bethlehem. So it's like an astrological kind of omen.
What a gift.
So
Right?
Jesus started astrology? Is that
Yeah.
what I got out of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was really into like incense
Yeah.
and hacky sack.
I know. Oh, those Libras. No.
Oh, no. There's an intersection with astrology where like the configuration of stars at birth is supposed to tell you about yourself, and then also like as those stars move in your life, right? That's the whole basis of astrology, is interpreting signs and omens in that way.
I have a friend who literally thinks he's an astrologer. I say thanks. He has a whole business about it. So I guess you know what he is.
Yeah, I think at the point where you're being
Yeah.
paid, you could say you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, but you can also still say they think.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess the difference would be like whether or not he believes himself to truly
Yeah.
be doing it or to be grifting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I was like, oh, crazy things, but I'm like, well, I believe in ghosts, and so I'm like, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be judging other people for their beliefs.
Exactly, and I truly believe that we're on Earth 33 in the DC multiverse. So
that tracks.
We all have our thing. All of these are based on the idea, though, that gods or cosmic forces interact with the physical world, and that you can interpret those patterns.
Yeah.
So a death omen obviously specifically predicted the death of a person or a people or a civilization. Some of the most commonly known ones include black cats. So many cultures view black cats with superstition. There's an old German superstition that if a black cat is seated at the bedside of a sick person, that they'll die soon. Of course, it's handy that they have to be seated by the bed of a already sick person.
Yeah.
But
or if a black cat walks in front of your husky, you could die because he's really big. You down. I'm just, spitballing out there of things that may or may not have happened.
Black cat sightings at funerals are supposed to indicate that another member of the family is about to die.
Jeez. So kill all the black cats is the answer, right?
Yeah.
They're cute, though.
I have a black cat. And look at me, everything's coming up roses for me.
That seems like you're a living death omen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Living death omen.
I finally have a name for my album.
Oh yeah.
So knocking. There's the idea of a death knock or a knock of doom exists in Irish and Scottish folklore, in which if you hear like a specific number of knocks on the door, but no one is there, you're fated to die soon, like a sort of deadly Nicky Nine Doors kind of thing.
So wait, that's in which culture?
Irish and Scottish.
So I like the idea that someone's like, it's like 2.5 or like 2 knocks, and they go out and they're like, oh, you damn kids! I thought it was a death knock again. Like,
It's shaving a hair. It's shaving a haircut. You have to do that.
You're dead. Ding Dong Ditch is really cruel there. Then I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Ding Dong Ditch, but the ditch is the grave they bury you in.
Fun fact: my brother once ran smack into a mailbox and broke it in half playing Ding Dong Ditch. The worst part, they weren't even there.
So much commitment.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
But, if you think of that as part of like a sort of general British folklore, it kind of makes sense with like the Christmas Carol and Jacob Marley appearing as the door knocker and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Solar eclipse in ancient Greece. Solar eclipses were seen to be signs of the god's anger and a signal of imminent danger. Other ones include lightning and thunder, the passage of birds like vultures or ravens, all that sort of stuff. Every culture has different omens, and in some cases, the omens are personal to people, including like personal superstitions and beliefs and fears. Like Halley's Comet was a bad omen for King Harold II of England, who saw it right before losing the Battle of Hastings.
Oh.
But it was a great omen for William the Conqueror, who saw it before winning the Battle of Hastings.
Oh, that's really interesting.
So it's like they were both on either side of it. They both regarded Halley's Comet as an omen, but on opposite sides of how that went.
That's really funny.
Yeah, there you go. Omens, baby.
Wow. Well, with that, let's talk about omens in this episode. So let's jump into today's episode. We begin with a then that is a montage that more than just the usual one of like past episode. With this one, we're actually getting a montage of all the crimes, fake personas throughout the past 2 seasons. So all the like discussing the fact that Dean was like pronounced dead in the shapeshifter episode, setting up the boys having racked up a large amount of reported crimes against them.
Them showing up as Homeland Security in that episode with the plane, all that kind of
all
stuff.
Their like different costumes and stuff. As something definitely like through this rewatch that I've been paying attention to more of is like them learning how to like grift a bit.
Yeah.
It's something that sort of
they finally embrace the suit so that they're not just showing up in like jeans and that big coat and being like, we're forest rangers.
Yeah. And that's what I love about this show is they really did build upon it and learn. Like it wasn't like everything is really a new episode. It's building upon each one, as opposed to a lot of serials at the time could just be like, nope, just something new completely.
Well, even with X-Files, right? Like you get the episodes that are like the connections, but then there's ones that are just completely off of it, right?
Yeah.
You know what? This is actually
Monster of the Week.
Yeah. This was something that that I find Lucifer actually struggles with a bit, which is that sometimes they'll be like having a continuity episode and then somebody like sees Lucifer or somebody kisses and then the next episode it's like it never happened and then they don't reconnect to it like for 4 episodes and you're like you just saw his real face, you know, as the devil.
Yeah.
And then the next episode they're like, "Hey, what's up, buddy?"
Right.
And then 4 episodes later they're like, "This has really been bothering me." And I'm like, so, "Since when?"
Well, I will say though, part of that was on the episode shuffling. I'm usually pretty good about defending things when I know the answer, and this is some of that was for Lucifer specifically is like they filmed them in a certain order, but Fox shifted them around, and that was for several of the seasons. The Netflix ones are all straight through, but yeah, that was because that's why there's all those 3 extra ones after the arc with the mother. That they put on with after like they kill Tom Welling as Bane. So that's why there's those 3 extra episodes as they were even filmed for the season before and they were just thrown in there because they were good, but they were kind of standalone.
It was so weird. I mean, it is a thing that the show kind of does sometimes, but that was probably the worst case of it where it's like, because sometimes they'll kiss and then it'll be like the next episode, everything's fine. But that one was like jarring. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that makes
because I know they shifted a couple of in the other seasons too, but there was like that glaring one where these 3 were supposed to be even the season before, and they were just like, "Where do we put these?"
That makes so much more sense now. Yeah. By the way, I've been watching Lucifer.
I mean, I know
it's so good. Like I
it
really
is very
enjoy
good.
That show.
I'm sort of off.
Yeah,
I'm off after season 5. I haven't jumped into season 6 because I'm just like season 5 kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but I'm willing to jump back in.
And it's Arrowverse canon, baby.
Yeah,
that's true.
The thing they let happen that really saved Crisis because I was so disappointed with that first part. I was like, I'm the one going on the DC tangent.
Oh, wait, what are you doing with it? Oh my god, what podcast do you think this is?
It's like people who know me know I love Constantine, and that was a Constantine. I mean, and I talked to Joe Henderson a few times about, hey, when are we going to do a Lucifer Constantine? When are we going to?
Yes, so good.
That's awesome.
Love it.
And he made it happen.
So we get the cold open for this episode in Baltimore, Maryland. A cop is walking through a police station talking on a cell phone. Yeah. He comes to a fax machine that is printing off a fax. I mean, it's funny because that's old tech, but also that's probably still in like police stations.
Do you know what? It kind of, if you're going to show old tech anywhere, I feel like it works in a police station. I know in big cities, cops have all the money in the world. I'm sure even in small cities, they have disproportionately too much money.
Yes.
But when you're in like a smaller town or things like that, kind of like we are in this episode, I kind of buy the idea that the cops are like, "Can you please fax this to us?" Or like, I kind of buy. I think it helps the episode not age too long. So of course they have a fax.
It's a police station. Yeah, absolutely. But it's interesting because he takes the fax out, he looks at it, says, "I need to call you back," and hangs up the phone. And that's the cold open. Nobody dies.
It doesn't go all the way into the interrogation room. It just ends there.
I'm pretty sure because right after that, then it's like elsewhere. Oh yeah, no, okay, yeah. But there's the cops that are okay, yeah. There's the because there's a SWAT team that's happening at the same time. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we're intercutting. There's the stuff happening in the police station. There's a SWAT team outside a motel.
Yeah. And they've got guns. Pete's talking to someone that's not visible across the table. So we see like there's a conversation between like a detective and somebody we don't know who it is, and they go like, I thought you were just stepping up your game, credit card fraud, breaking and entering, but this one puzzled me, grave desecration, but still these are a long way from murder, which is at that point a SWAT team pause outside of a certain room.
Yeah.
But you're suspected of torturing and murdering a young woman, continues the detective. However, no one could have proved anything, of course, because supposedly you died there. The cops then break into the room, and the lead cop, Linda Blair, hurries inside with a gun. Yeah. You hear Pete go, but I got to tell you something. You looked pretty healthy to me. So now we know Karen Giles wasn't the first person you murdered. You go back to the hotel because there's a lot of like back and forth. Basically,
it's pretty fast paced.
Yeah, and
it feels like the third act of a cop show.
Yeah, totally. Because then Linda Blair is like going somewhere, Sam, and then that when you look and Sam looks back at her, hands in the air. So all of these guns are pointing at Sam. And then back at the police station, Pete basically you realize that he's talking to Dean, and you're like, I guarantee, like, I'll guarantee she's the last. Basically, he's like, we've got you.
He stops just short of saying, "You'll never hurt anyone again, you son of a bitch."
But yeah, like the
it's
beginning,
got that energy.
Yeah, that's basically the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Which is then we jump into the actual sort of like this whole thing feels almost like a bit of a bottle episode until sort of the end of it, which is like it's all kind of happening inside of this interrogation scene. But what I love about this a specific episode is it's like the whole time you're watching this first 2 seasons of the show, right? And you're going like, well, like in real life, you'd never just get away with this, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, and you're like, it's TV, so they're just gonna always like be free, and they're gonna just somehow get away with it. And the show's going, no, this was a bad thing.
Yeah. Again, like them learning and growing, we are also coming back to like the weird trail of destruction they've also left behind, which is like the dead shapeshifter as Dean and like the various being on the run kind of elements, right?
Yeah. The Supernatural was very smart about always having consequences and letting people know it's like, yes, they're getting away with this, but eventually somebody figures it out and something has to happen there. It didn't just completely ignore things like a lot of serials do. Yeah.
Oh, totally. Yeah, exactly. It's one of the best things about the show. So, so they're inside this police station, and Linda Blair's character is talking to Sam, and there's this basically like, oh, she's giving him a coffee, and Sam's immediately calling him out like, oh, okay, you're the good cop, where's bad cop? And they're like, oh, that's with your brother Dean.
Yeah.
It's a good Sammy episode, I will say. This is when Sammy has
it
sex,
is.
I love a Sam episode with that like that. Yeah.
Sam is he's got a pretty hard edge on him in this episode. It is nice to see. He's still very much like the brainsy one, because Dean is being the real blunt instrument in the other interrogation room, where he's just like, it's not
ghosts are real, they're killing you. Like,
yeah, he's just going like, I know who killed him. It was a ghost. Blah 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 blah. And that guy's like, you think this is funny? And he's like, I don't know, kinda like.
Yeah, Dean is just being Dean, and that's what I love. Even under pressure like that, he's just because he's so confident, and because he always winds up getting out of it.
And it does come up in this episode, but even in these early interactions in the 2 interrogation rooms, you do get the sense that it's a scenario they've prepared for.
Oh yeah,
that Dean knows what it's like. Listen, I will get out of this. I just got to buy some time. I'm just this
is just part of the plan, right?
Blah, blah, blah,
like,
blah.
The Great Escape. Yeah, like that's why they have the little movie references. And this episode is full of references. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They've got codes and plans, but even just the way they approach interrogation, they're like, we trained for this. We know what to do here.
But also, we're actually on the job while this is happening, right? Which I love. But I love this sort of back and forth with Sam, because he's basically going like, oh, because they're going, your brother killed a lot of people. Like, you don't have to be like him. And they're like, oh yeah, like who is he supposed to have murdered? Yeah. And he's like, look, like there's. We have all of these potential people that like his fingerprints showing up on all these places, and they're like, yeah, Sam's like potential, which means you've got nothing.
There's a thing that the show does that does make sense, but I also kind of go like, is that Sam is pre-law, which means he just did a bachelor's degree, right?
Yes.
And, but then
I'm pre-law.
So you've got nothing. He's just like saying it
as if he's like was a lawyer at some point.
We're literally all pre-law.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty well versed in bird law, and I've seen a lot of Law and Order.
I just love the idea that he's almost got the energy of the like, I'll represent myself, which is like, let's pump the brakes a little, Sam. You didn't go to law school.
Yeah. But what's interesting is that this is where Linda Blair's character Diane, she basically then starts going like, oh, I know your story. Like, you went to school, you're pre-law, but your mom died, your girlfriend died, like you left school, like you're taking time, like
I like how nobody
was reading his dating profile.
Yes.
I like how his Tinder account is like, mom and girlfriend died in mysterious demon fire.
Space for a woman open.
Looking for someone who doesn't mind living out of a car.
Yeah.
Went to Stanford,
Must be cool with brother watching.
As well as
I mean, I'm not seeing anything wrong with it at this point, but
like getting fiery in the bedroom, possibly while I'm not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're gonna die on the ceiling.
Yeah, I got where you're going.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to.
Yeah.
But like basically, she's going like, "What do you like? You and your brother are going around doing crimes?" And he was just like, "No, like we're just on a road trip. Like I needed some space after school. My girlfriend died. We even saw the second biggest ball of twine.
Yeah,
like
he's being
such a dick.
He's being real snarky. Yeah,
I like that.
I do too. I think it's really really good. Even he's just like, "Oh, like can I have this cup of coffee?" Like he's such a snarky little bitch. Like,
well, because again, the show is playing it like he is playing her.
Yes.
What the show does well, though, is that they never use it to undercut Linda Blair. Like, she is coming in. She's got her kind of cop technique of bringing him the coffee. He's playing his technique of being like, so you're the good cop. Oh, so can I have this coffee? Oh, I saw this twine. But they never make her look like she's just getting played. She's like, all right, fine. You know what you're doing. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she's a good cop. And like, that's what we see is she is the good cop, like whether it be like in that scenario or whatever. Yeah. And that's why she's the one questioning and kind of going along with them because they are our heroes.
Yes,
exactly. Also, Linda Blair plays a cop really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would watch a full procedural with Linda Blair as a cop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supernatural cop. That's what I want.
Supernatural cop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could have that spinoff. I mean, none of the other spinoffs have ever worked out, but I think we're due.
Yeah, what are you talking about? That Chicago crime syndicate's been going for 20 seasons. I don't understand. But basically they try to get Sam to flip on his brother. They're like, hey, look, he's the one who's in trouble. Like, you're a good kid, it seems like. Like, just flip on your brother. And he's just like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. They're like, Dean's good as gone. Sam's like, look, my dad and Tony Giles were old friends. They were in the service together. We've known them since we were kids, you know, like, and we came because of his death. Like, that's why we were in this place. Like, interesting fact, fun fact here, Anthony Giles is likely a play on Anthony Head, who played Rupert Giles on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
Putting those two names together, that's kind of fun.
Love that.
Yeah. Great show, bad creator.
Things, yeah. Exactly. That could be a whole nother tangent, but I'm just so glad everyone's finally on the same page there because I was saying it long before.
Oh yeah, I've heard this so long now that it's like it's kind of crazy that it's people are just finding that out now. That was like the fucking Bill Cosby thing. Like it's like people have been talking about it forever how shitty he was. But this leads into a bit of a flashback. Not as far back as we're used to going with Supernatural. We're not going to them as kids, but we're actually just going back to like a week prior in Sam's memory. He walks towards a table where Dean's sitting with a newspaper. He hands Dean a coffee, and now you're finding out this is them coming to see Anthony Giles, right? But they're not old friends. He's even like, they're pulling up information about him. They're going, he's a Baltimore lawyer. Yeah. He's working late in his office. Check it out. Basically, his throat was slit, but the room was clean. No DNA, no prints. Security cameras failed to capture any footage. And they're thinking either someone tampered with the tape or an invisible killer.
What I like about these flashbacks, because we get a few as the episode happens, is that it's always set up as Sam is now going to tell the cop what happened, but then we see what really happened. Like, I like that it's not like the Rashomon thing, where we see the fake story, we see the real story, but when we come back to it, we imagine that Sam has left out the bit about monsters.
Exactly.
Like, I think it demonstrates a level of trust in the audience that they're not just saying like either this is what Sam is saying or he said like now this cop knows about monsters right away kind of thing. Like, I think there's a level of sophistication to that device.
Yeah, exactly. But basically what they show is that like by the time they got there, he was saying like, oh, he was already dead.
Yeah.
So we go back to the police station and he's like, it'd be pretty hard for him to kill Tony since we weren't even in town at the time.
Yeah.
So this is where, and you basically just see Diana go like, okay, like what happened next? Like, that's when we went to see Karen. She was barely holding it together. We just wanted to be there for her. But in reality, they were pretending to be sort of the insurance guys.
Yes.
Which is a con we've seen them play before, where they're basically there to sort of like deal with final insurance things.
Dean is really bad at it again in this episode.
So
it's
bad as being an
classic,
insurance guy.
like Dean is just like, were there noises, cold spots? Just like He's like, we like to be thorough.
Dean is Dean, and that's the thing. Even when playing these characters, that's why that works as an FBI agent or Homeland Security. But yeah, like, or even the priest, just because I don't really hear any of the dialogue when they're in those outfits. But I should like,
that's pushing too many buttons.
You just pour them into that suit.
I gotta say, I kind of liked them when they were the grief counselor priest, like the sweater vest.
The sweaters, yeah.
Whenever you get Sam into a sweater vest, it's always very funny.
Yeah, I kind of dug that.
Yeah. Because when he's in like the Pleasantville town, like that's like prime Sammy character.
So
there.
good, totally. I love that. But basically, they're having this conversation, and they're like, "Oh, like, did this guy have any dreams?" And she's just like, "What the hell?" He kept saying that he would like he woke up and he saw this woman before his bed. Then he blinked and it was gone.
Yeah, dreams like premonitions, not like what did he want to do?
Yeah.
Well, he really wanted to start a microbrewery and move to Canada. And
was it like a haunted microbrewery? Like, come on, play with me here. Like, what's going on? Ooh, hops. So, basically... he said that she was pale. She had dark red eyes. So we go back to the police station, and he's like, "So I gave Karen a hug, told her that if she needed me, I was there." And immediately Diana's like not buying it. She's like, "I'm trying to help you, but you got to be honest with me." Like she immediately knows that like
she's a good cop. She knows she can smell bullshit from a mile away.
Even though she goes back into into like the sort of glass room and was basically like, their stories are matching. Like she knows it's a lie.
But I mean, often in those cop shows, that's when they know it's a lie, because it's like no true stories match this well.
Yeah,
like,
but you also can't convict somebody based on that if the stories match up, right? Yep. So it's interesting, right? But Sam tells Sam tells her that Karen called them later and said that there was just some stuff that she wanted from Tony's office, but the police weren't letting her in. So the pictures of them going into the crime scene was just them doing the thing for this lady, apparently, even though we know that's not true. Now another flashback comes into, and they're actually lockpicked their way into his office.
Sam's like, she asked us to pick something up from the office, and then you immediately cut to them picking the lock.
I love that. They find that the body on the floor. They see blood on the ground. The throat
Find the body on the floor. Find the body on the floor.
The throat was slit so deep that the spinal cord was visible,
which is so gruesome.
Yeah, that's awful. It's a thing I did not like reading. Sam's basically going like, "What do you think? Vengeful spirit, underlying vengeful? Yeah, maybe. I mean, he did see that woman at the foot of his bed. He picks up a piece of paper and gives it to Sam, and it basically says Dana Schultz. So this is the first time we're seeing Dana Schultz in the episode, right? And he goes, I don't know, but it's everywhere. He says that the paper he's looking at is the same. All work, no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Yeah, because it's just like over and over. Dana Schultz, Dana Schultz, Dana Schultz, Dana Schultz.
Which is a reference to, again, the show loves referencing back to The Shining.
Yes.
Which we love to talk about. Sam's at this glass table.
They spend a lot of time in this office.
Yeah.
Like, they're there like overnight, like into the morning, like looking for stuff or whatever. And at one point, Dean like looks over at Sam, and Sam says the words, "I'm almost through like the password or whatever."
Yeah.
Which, when you say it like that, it makes it sound like he's doing like backdoor hacking. But I like to imagine that he just keeps typing in incorrect passwords. He's like, "I'm almost through."
Password 1, password 2.
Yeah, I must be. How many more words could there be? I'm almost through.
It's going to be password 1 through 100. I just need to figure out what number. So basically, they're going through this. They're trying to figure out who Dana Schultz is. They can't find anything that says specifically D. Schultz or anything like that in Tony's desk. There's basically
no name that matches.
There's nobody that died in Baltimore in the last 50 years.
Name's Dana Schultz.
Yeah, exactly. So they're Sam's pretty close to cracking the password. Which is funny because then he goes, "By close do you mean?" And he's like 30 minutes maybe, which again feels
he's giving an estimate where it's like I don't see Sam as like the like actual hacking kind of thing. So he's just like, I don't know, 30 minutes and it's cat 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, considering he has like
about an hour. Like,
considering he has like a no rules sticker on his computer, I don't think that it's a real considering issues here. But basically, but at that point, they get bored basically and begins making noises with his mouth, and Dean's just being really annoying. So he's just like, why don't you go and get the hell out of here? Talk to Karen, maybe.
Yeah.
So he leaves, which is now how we see Dean and Sam are separated at this point.
Yeah, they
right?
get separated, and Dean goes to see Karen.
Yep.
And am I missing a scene in between?
Well, there's basically they go back to the police station, and they're sort of talking about the fact that that Dean went to go see her.
Right.
That she's like, well, why didn't you go with him? And he was just like, I just went back to the motel. So this is giving context of how he was back to the motel at the time when he got caught. He's like, how did you know I was there? By the way, she explains that the motel matchbook on Dean when they arrested him. That's what basically said that, and he's just like, you were with your brother the whole time in Baltimore, why separate now? And he's just like, because your brother left you to go murder Karen. He didn't kill anyone, insists Sam. And she basically hits the ground and says like, I heard the 911 call. Karen was terrified. She said someone was back in the house, which is now we're getting the scene where you actually see Karen getting murdered.
We see that, and this is the scene where we see this. Do we actually fully see the?
No. Basically, the lights go out.
Yeah.
Suddenly, her printer starts going.
We get the ghosty accoutrement.
Yes,
the lights
absolutely.
and stuff. Yeah.
What they can have on the CW. And what's funny about Karen is she was in like 2 other episodes after this because they love to reuse the Canadian actors.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Gotta get those tax credits.
Yeah, exactly.
Connor Tracy, I think is her name. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, she looks like Rachel Lee Cook is what I always like, but she's like not Rachel Lee Cook is how I come. But that's what I call what Skylar Aston is not Zachary Levi.
Right.
Yes. Oh my God, that's amazing. But basically, this is where Dean's trying to get in there, but by the time he actually gets there, her throat is already slit.
Yeah, she's dead.
And basically the freeze says a voice suddenly, and then the cops are there.
Yeah, because she is scared.
She calls 911.
She calls 911. By the time she is killed, Dean shows up, gets in there. The response times all line up.
Exactly, right? Which then we go back to the police station, and now Dean's sitting behind a 2-way mirror, handcuffed on the table, and the cops are talking to each other and basically like, we're not getting anywhere. These guys are really good. Like, if we don't flip Sam, we have nothing but circumstantial evidence. Like, the brother's the only way to do that, right? So he's like, hey Dean, we've got Dean at the crime scene with blood on his hands, and juries could have convicted less. But at this point, Diana's like, I just don't know. Like, this doesn't feel like these guys are murderers.
Something's wrong here.
Like, and Pete's way too quick to be like, no, let's just easy.
Yeah.
We could solve this case. Like, it doesn't matter. And she's like, but they don't seem like...
He's got strong, lazy cop, easy collar energy.
Well, and 2, when you have the actor Jason Gedrick, this is again where you see like a frequent guest star, and if you watch a lot of TV, you know who did it. And you're like, oh, well, that guy did it in the other episode of this other thing I watched, so he must be guilty. And like you say, where he's too like eager to get them, and she's giving reasonable doubt, you're like... I don't know about this guy. I mean, he did it on Bosch, so there's something here.
That's right, so funny. Yeah, there's always those things where you're like, this actor's too big to be like a sub like character in a show. Like they're always just like somebody who's way too big to be in something, and you're like, well, this is going to be the person. This is the main like person, right? Like, I always love that. But this is where you find out that Tony Giles knew the detective Pete, and they were friends, and he was a criminal defense lawyer, and that's why they were close. And even Diana's like, look, like somebody else could have done this. Like, this guy knew a lot of like criminal types, and he was like, well, yeah, he was a defense lawyer, but you can clearly like you can sort of just start discerning that maybe this guy was kind of shady,
right?
As well.
He was a defense lawyer. I mean,
yes.
Mark Garrigus, love him to death, but he's pretty shady. I mean,
Absolutely. So basically, this is where you immediately start sort of questioning Pete as a guy in general here, because he's being way too quick to try to convince them. He's like defending this defense lawyer. He's like he's being a bad cop, or as I like to call him, a cop. A cab. Yeah. And so, and then he suddenly like turns around, looks around, and kisses Diana. So now we realize there's actually a relationship between these two detectives, right? They're not only partners, but they're partners.
Yeah, I think when it comes to these cop relationships, what I've always learned, because even on Psych, like initially that's how we get Juliet, is Lassiter was banging his other partner.
Yes.
That's why you got to worry about if your partners of the opposite sex, that's what's happening in every cop show.
Every cop show, it's true. It always ends up with that.
Also, Boyle and Peralta.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Like, that's a real love story there.
That's so funny. But this is the part where I really love, because this is where the boys start actually solving the crime, right?
Yes.
You're going back and forth between Sam
like
and Dean's interview.
And they
room.
use their public defender. Is that here?
Yes, yeah.
They're using their public defender to basically like pass notes, which is their like coded notes and stuff like
they both
that.
what I love this is they both call him Matlock too separately, which is a 80s TV show about criminal defense lawyer. Yeah, it's really good. I love this. And they both are trying to like solve it. They're like, is it an anagram? Like, is this a
the Dana Schultz thing? And I think it's the defense lawyer who says like Sam is like, or Dean, I can't remember. One of them is just like, humor me. Is this an anagram? And he goes like, it wouldn't use all the letters, but Ashland is a street in this town.
It's Dean, because he's like, humor me. Is this an anagram?
Yeah,
because he doesn't even really understand anagram, like, and like, because I think he's just like getting at it because he's like, this is a Sam word. Let me get like, I love Dean, by the way, guys, total Dean girl, but we know Dean, we know who he is.
Yeah.
But that little bit about
God doesn't give with both hands, all right?
No, sadly he does not. But yeah, the little bit about Matlock was just, this is what they do so well, is that they are brothers. And I know I have a brother and we have the same dumbass references. So of course they're both going to go that way.
Exactly, right?
Yeah,
I love that. And in my fan fiction, they both go that way. So
all right. We're brothers. That's sick.
This whole show, like the weirdness of my family. Every year, my family plays like charades at Christmas when we're all actually together. And one year, both my sister and I put in the hat "Bridge on the River Kwai." Like both of us were like, "Yeah, this is a good one for charades."
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you even? And both of you are probably like, like Bridge on the River Kwai.
Yeah, exactly. It was exactly like that. Yeah. So when Lacretia's saying that sibling thing, totally exists.
Totally.
Oh yeah, and if we want to get super specific, it's like we have a half brother, and he had gone into the bathroom, and to his I believe she was just his girlfriend at the time, but now wife. We were like, oh, did he bring a Wolverine comic in there? And neither one of us was in the same room, but we both said the same thing. It was like, did he bring a Wolverine comic in there? Because now we know it's gonna be a while. Like
that's hilarious.
So funny.
That's amazing.
So what's great about this is that they're basically, they're kind of solving the crime here. Now they understand there's potentially this street that they know that matches up with Dana Schultz, and they're basically like, if you want to help me, just like get this paper to my brother. Dean's lawyer mentions that he could be facing the death penalty, but fun fact, however, in Maryland does not have the death penalty.
Really?
Although,
but they specifically say that there is.
Yeah, there's not.
What a weird detail to get wrong.
Although Missouri, where the shapeshifter framed Dean for murder in season 1, does have and there is several mentions of the possibility of extradition, including the buildup to the final showdown at the end of the episode.
Well, and isn't there a death penalty like federally? Like,
yes.
So then because he's like cross state lines and stuff like that, then maybe that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, potentially. But this at this point, now we go to Diana, who's alone at her computer, and she's typing up the case report, and that's when suddenly Dana Schultz starts replacing the letters.
Yeah. And then it just stops and disappears. Like she doesn't have to like delete it. It just
the ghost is gaslighting her now.
Yeah, and it's gone. And then she goes to the washroom.
Yeah.
And then like the water starts like steaming. It steams up like the mirror or something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or is that it? different.
It comes up in a minute. Yeah.
It's like up right after that.
Yeah. Because basically we're still dealing with sort of Dean and Sam trying to figure out this problem.
Right.
And they're like, it's the street Ashland. I hope it's meaningful. The lawyer's basically now helping between the two of them. And he's like, God, you guys are both like, you guys really are brothers, aren't you?
Yeah.
A bunch of people have now set up a camera in front of Dean. This is where you get that moment where he's like,
oh yeah, like the lawyer comes in and the cop, the Pete, he's like, yeah, good thing you're here. Your boy's about to confess.
Yeah, and he gets so mad, and he like throws Dean up against the wall
because Dean like looks straight into the camera and goes, "I didn't do it. A ghost did it. Here's what ghosts do."
Yes,
he's just like, I love that. That is Dean Winchester 101. That whole little scene of his confession and just going into it and smiling the whole time.
And then someone mentions the thing from St. Louis, and he goes, "Oh, actually, that was a shapeshift."
Yes, I love that.
Fully
yeah, those are real.
Yeah.
I love that so much because it's like really it's also honest of the like they can't be like he was lying, but obviously he's lying because those things aren't real. Like
it's also such a huge like fuck you, like all the extra people that had to set stuff up,
because he's like, I'm willing to do my confession,
but he's basically just distraction.
Exactly, because when they get back to Sam's interview room, Sam's gone. She finds a newspaper on the desk that Dean wrote from. She's like, these two guys, Hilton McQueen, basically, which are characters from The Great Escape.
Yeah. Which is telling Sam, get out.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But that's when we go to the police bathroom where suddenly the Dana Schultz appears on the window. Diana turns around, sees the ghost behind her, and she's trying to like, it's the throat is slit, but it's clearly trying to like say something, but it's just making noises and it can't speak.
Yeah.
Her throat is slit.
God. Somehow that would be challenging.
You're so insensitive, Richard.
Yeah.
How can you be nearly headless?
Oh, she was a house ghost the whole time?
Yeah. So now we go back to Dean's interview room, and they're basically just like, can we make this quick? Like, I'm a little tired. It's been a long day, with your partner assaulting me and everything.
Yeah.
He's
He
like,
went full stapler and not in a hot way.
No, unfortunately. But basically, he's just going like, look, Diana's basically going like, look, shit's happening, and he going
says, theoretically,
yes,
if
the thing that you said,
if a ghost came to a person that was not me, what might it do? and Dean clicks and he goes, oh, you've seen it, like you're on board now, and that's great news.
One of us.
And she basically like, what are we doing here? And he's like a vengeful spirit, and she nods her head and she goes, okay, well, those are created by violent deaths, and they come back for a reason, usually a nasty one, like revenge on the people that hurt them. These people are like
revenge.
And she's like, could these people kill people? And just rubbing the back of her neck, and he's like, where did you get that? And she basically she's got these red marks suddenly on her wrists.
Yeah, which
just
were
like the
also
ones
on what's her name, Karen.
And she's like, there wasn't there before. And they're basically like, this is a thing that can possibly happen. It's almost like a sickness through ghosts. And he's just like, you've now been marked. So if you don't deal with this, you're gonna die. So he's just like, go to Sam, and she's like, you're gonna give up your brother? And he's just like, look, we can deal with that later. If you want to live, this is how you live. Go see Sam.
Yeah, and Dean knows where to find Sam because, again, one of their things is if they get separated, they open the yellow pages, go to the first motel.
And they look for Jim Rockford, who is the lead character from the Rockford Files, a 1970s detective show. So now we're at a motel room. Basically, Diana shows up there, and they're like, they're now going to try to solve this problem together because Sam understands what the issue is. He's like, okay, this is a vengeful spirit. Yeah. You've got limited time. Like, we need to figure this thing out, right? Yeah. And she goes, like, I've been researching every girl who's died or gone missing from Ashland Street. And she's just like, how did you get all this information? He's like, hey, look, we both have our jobs. Like, don't worry about it. Like, and she goes, Claire Becker, 28 years old, disappeared 8 or 9 months ago. And she goes like, I don't even know her. Like, why would this person be after me? Like where's the connection here? And they're going, well, she was arrested before dealing heroin. Did you either work for narcotics before? And then they go, oh yeah, Pete and I did.
Yeah, and then she starts piecing together that like some evidence went missing. They knew it was a cop, but they never figured out who. And then they're like, well, that's the best connection we got.
So let's go to Ashland Street, right? Because there's abandoned building, and we got assault and burn the bones.
And Sam also says in here that the reason that the thing might be an anagram is that communicating from the veil is difficult.
Yeah.
Sometimes things get scrambled,
garbled,
stuff like that. Or Dean had said that, but
like red brown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Another Shining reference. So now they go to this abandoned building where that was the last place that Claire was seen, at least entering. So there's a potential that she may have. There's some clues there that are there, right? They go downstairs and basically that's the ghost immediately shows up, and she starts like coming towards Diana, reaching out, but like not like trying to hurt her, but just trying to like get information, right?
Yeah, and this clicks in for Sam. He's like, if she was a vengeful spirit, that wouldn't have happened.
No.
So she's clearly trying to tell us something, and I think he clues in this scene that she must be like a death omen. She must be trying to warn people, but that means that something else or someone else is doing the killing.
Yeah, and they're basically she was pointing towards like a shelf that's by a window. The window says Ashland, so that's where they're making the connection that maybe they had seen that word.
It says Ashland supplies or something, and that's where like the extra couple of letters come from in the anagram.
Yeah, when
the sups.
Exactly. So, but here's a fun thing that I noticed was when Sam pulls the rack away from the window to reveal the name of the store as Ashland Supplies, or only Ashland Sup is fully visible as the sign has deteriorated. But when they turn around and see the name beaming on the wall, the way that the sign was on the window was dark letters on a clear glass background. So the letters on the wall should have been shadowed letters on the sunlit background instead. But instead, it was sunlit letters on a shadow background.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So Sam takes out his EMF meters and he realizes there's something like behind the wall.
Okay, I gotta listen. Sammy is a big boy.
Yeah, he's very big.
He's dare I say climbable.
That would be how I would describe him.
But he uses like a tool to knock out a couple of bricks, and then he's literally like elbowing a brick wall down.
It's impressive.
Oh my god!
Yeah. Do that to my larynx.
Yeah, I wish Sam would throw me around. Like that.
Crush my collarbone.
Elbow me right in the sternum.
But as they're sort of breaking this down, they're like, "You know what's bothering me?" And she's like, "That you're digging up a corpse." And he's like, "No,
I do that all the time."
Yeah, that's actually pretty par for the course for us. But it's just that like no vengeful spirits I've ever tussled with wanted to be wasted. Like, so why would she lead us to her remains? It doesn't make any sense. Diana and Sam lift out the body, which is in a bag. Sam cuts the rope, untying it, and wraps it, and they look at Claire's body inside, and they can see that the wrists are tied. You could see that the wrist would be bruised just like Diana's. Diana then finds the necklace on this girl. And there's just like this. She's like, this is a very rare necklace. And she's like, why? She's like, well, they're only custom made on Carson Street. And she's like, well, how do you know that? And she's like, because I have one.
Yeah. And then
that's where we make the connection.
Yeah.
Dude, 101, like, you never give them the same talisman. When you're trying to mark your bitches, guys, like, you got to give them unique stuff because they will eventually meet each other, whether it be at your funeral or not. It's like, if you don't want to get caught, give them their own unique thing.
Yeah. That's speaking from experience,
all of
right?
the corpses we found
totally.
All of the corpses we found had the same comfortable, like LSU hoodie.
So of course it was him.
So fun fact here, this episode is set in Baltimore, the town where Edgar Allan Poe died. He was famous for such stories as the cask of Amontillado, where a victim is concealed inside of a brick wall.
And also the idea of like the raven being an omen.
Yeah, the death omen,
like
yeah.
A lot of connections here. It's cool to like make those extra sort of points.
The cask of Amontillado is super fucked up because it's about him making the guy get drunk while he slowly bricks him in to kill him. Jesus. And the guy's like, hey, shouldn't I get out? And he's like, you're fine. He's like,
wow. And basically this is where they're like, oh, this all makes sense.
Yeah.
Claire is not a vengeful seer. She's a death omen. Claire's not killing anybody. She's trying to warn them.
Yeah.
And then she's like, Sam's like, how well do you know your partner?
Yeah.
And
Well,
this
they
is
banging, but apparently not no.
yeah,
very
not
well.
she. I know his certain
I
areas
know
quite
him well
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah, Wank.
Yeah.
But this is where Diana thinks for a second. She goes, "Oh my god." About a year ago, some heroin went missing from the lockup. Obviously, it was a cop. I never found out who did it, but whoever did would have need someone to fence their product, right? Somebody like a heroin dealer, somebody like Claire.
Yeah.
So this is where Pete is now driving down the road in a cop van, and Dean's in the back.
Yeah, and Dean, again, very sort of smart. He's like, middle of the night, you alone are transferring me to another county? I'm thinking I'm not going to make it there.
Yeah. He's basically he's like he said Diana gets on the phone and realizes that Pete's just left. He said that the prisoner had to be transferred. He just took him.
He's like turned off his radio and stuff. They can't get the cops can't get in touch with.
Yeah,
Pete.
but he's like, oh wait, it's a police van. Sam's like, oh well, then he's gonna have LoJack. You can track the car.
Again, she looks at Sam like, you know too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not a good thing that a civilian can get this much kind of information, right? But this is where Pete then pulls onto the side of the road, pulls Dean out, and Dean's like, whoa. Like, let's just talk about this. But at that exact same moment, you hear Pete, a voice interrupts. Both men turn and see Diane and Sam. He asks, like, how did you even find me? And she goes like, I know about Claire. And he's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. He's like, put down the gun. And there's basically this back and forth now where they're like, Pete was like, look, like this is all going to be fine, but like Claire was going to turn me in. I had no choice. Now this kid like is going to be great. We can just like pin the whole thing on him. Like he's just this like degenerate nobody will care about.
Yeah.
Like it's almost
Except
like
Sam, God, and Bobby. I mean, they're not even thinking this through.
I know
No, they're
exactly, right? But he's a cop, so he just like thinks everybody's a dirtbag. So I'm really going anti-cop with this.
Yeah.
And
I like it.
I
I
think
like
it's
that.
fine.
This is the energy I want from you.
But basically, this is where he starts going like, "I still love you," and Diana's like holding the gun towards him, and I love this moment because he turns towards Dean, and suddenly Diana shoots him. Dean rolls out of the way.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Why don't you buy me another necklace, you ass?" And she like he jumps on her. Sam comes forward, but Pete aims the gun at him. And suddenly Diana looks at Pete. Claire is standing there.
Yeah.
Pete turns around and sees her, and then Diana shoots him from behind. Diana kneels beside Pete's body. She walks over, and then it's basically like he's done.
Yeah.
Love
I
it.
like that it was the women got their
Right?
revenge, because let's face it, this guy screwed them both over. It was a team effort on their part, and then Sam and Dean, like they're getting away with it too. Like they were
And-
there,
Yes.
they helped.
And I
Yeah.
also like that the ghost didn't finish Pete. Like the whole point was that she's not going to hurt someone.
Yeah.
She's just
Yeah.
there as a warning. I think it would have been weird to mix that and have the ghost take him
Yeah,
out. Like I think it's
yeah.
good that it's just the distraction needed for Linda Blair to take him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now Sam and Dean and Diana are sitting there, and we're basically like, it should be all be over. And they're like, what now? And she's like, well, Pete did confess to me. He screwed up both of your cases royally. I say there's a good chance that we can get this case at least dismissed. They're like, wow, you do that for us? She's like, yeah, but the St. Louis charges, like I got no control over that.
Yeah.
She's like, I can't help you, but I could just turn my back and you walked away and I could tell them the suspects escaped. And they're like, really? And it's just like you could lose your job over that. And she's like, look, I just want you guys to keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because she goes like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not a ghost cop. Like I can't, which again, I would watch that show.
Ghost cop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
R.I.P.D. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's such a great idea. How
Yes.
could that go wrong?
To be fair, it's better than Green Lantern. I mean,
That's an
Is it?
interesting thought.
I don't know that I agree.
I think I do.
I think I might want to watch them side by side again now that I'm hearing this question. I'm like,
yeah.
I like to think the Green Lantern was pretty bad. So RIPD,
So,
which
sorry,
never took itself too seriously. Yeah, again, DC tangent, but yeah.
So is this what we talked about where we guest on our own podcasts, or our crossover for Ghostfacers and Dr. DC is that we watch and compare RIPD, which is Ghost Cops, with Ryan Reynolds, and Green Lantern, which is Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I think this might be it. Or this is the kickoff for our Patreon for Ghostfacers.
Yeah, there you go.
But basically, and they're also like, by the way, where's the Impala? And she's like, it's in impound. Don't even get an idea. And they're like, don't worry.
Don't worry.
We got this.
Right.
And I love this final line, though, because Sam goes, nice lady. And Dean goes, yeah, for a cop. Like, yeah, fuck cops.
Yeah.
Didn't she look familiar for you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then
he goes,
I'm in
hungry.
the mood for pea soup. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I love that.
Very cute.
It's super cute. But yeah, so the obviously, if you didn't know, Linda Blair, who portrayed Diana Ballard on this episode, played Regan in The Exorcist, and her vomit resembled pea soup, and I think that's actually what they used.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it was.
This is also the first episode where Dean does not refer to Sam as Sammy at all.
We don't get a single Sammy?
Not a Sammy. Lacretia, have you ever watched that Sammy YouTube video where they put them all together? All the Sammys?
No, but I'm going to now, and I'm just going to. And not only am I going to go watch that, but I'm going to again just sort of redo it with the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I think that would work. Like when they're doing the Rocky, I feel like this is what they need to do.
It's really good because they put it to music, and it's very funny.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Starting that now.
So this is the end of the episode. Lacretia, please tell us what your sort of overall thoughts about this episode, and maybe if you can give us a ranking between 1 and 5.
I would say, certainly where it was early on when this show was still working on defining itself, I would definitely say a 4 or 5 on this episode because I judge the seasons as they are. Like the further they got in, the more they knew what they were doing, so they're a little bit more harsh. Although I'm very sentimental about season 7 because I love Dick Roman. I just wanted to give y'all enough time for a drop there.
I appreciate that.
But yeah, I would say this episode I really enjoyed. That's why when you asked me which one out of 6 or 7, I was like, yes, I'm going to do this one. Because while they're both good, this one, because I love little references. So this episode gave me everything I like. I watch SVU, hence all the SVU references. So this really hit the spot for me as sort of that homage. And that's what Supernatural does best is reference other things with hotter guys.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right. That's great. Reed, what about you?
Oh, wait, did you rank it out of 5? Did we get the...
Oh, yeah, did you?
Oh, yeah, I said 4 out of 4 or 5. So I would say, I'll give it a 5.
Nice.
Yeah.
Why not?
Love that. Okay. I do think this is a very solid episode. Like many episodes of Supernatural, I love when the twist is that people are the monsters.
Yeah.
So even
is that a twist?
It's not fully it's not fully like the human hunting the Benders where there were no supernatural elements in it at all. This one does have a ghost, but I like that the bad guy was still just a bad guy.
Yes.
There's a thing I really like about
just
that.
because I'm bad guy does not make me bad guy.
And Supernatural doesn't do that many of these episodes though, too, which is why it is special when they have that. Because as I say, Stephen King's next book will be he was the monster all alone.
Yeah.
I think that's a thing I always appreciate in the show, and then obviously, of course, the stuff that we were talking about in terms of bringing back little details, seeing them as a little bit more expert at how to get out of this thing, communicate with each other, and all of their training, and also seeing the repercussions of previous episodes and the little fine threads. It's not the demon story, but it's the other little connective pieces to past episodes. I think this is a all-time really good one. I think the only piece it's really missing for me is the big kind of action stuff. There's not a ton of that in this one. I think I'm going to give this 4.5 fenced heroines.
Nice. I like that. And if I think for me, this does all the things this does right. cops are bad. White men are bad.
Yeah, baby.
Men with power are bad.
Yeah.
Keep
going.
We're amongst friends here.
Women are good. They
Yes.
should work together.
Yes.
Women in power do things really great.
Yeah.
Sam and Dean are hot and
God.
funny, and when they work together, all these things are great things. I think that you get good humor, good spooky stuff, like the ghost in the bathroom is really good. Really great day players in this. Like, love all of the actors here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it just works as like a good cop episode, like a great detective-y kind of thing. It pays really great homage to stuff. So for me, I think that this gives I'm gonna have to give this 4.25.
Okay.
4.25 necklaces that shouldn't have matched.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Because you know there were others. Like,
yes,
for sure.
4.25 unoriginal gifts.
Yes, yeah.
Love it.
That's it for me.
That's
I think
a Christmas song.
I think like for a season 2 like episode, this is great. I mean, this is it. They really nail it. I love bringing in like a classic horror actor like Linda Blair, who should clearly do more stuff because she's incredible.
It's all the Easter eggy stuff that, like Lacretia said, the show's great at, like, reveling in.
Totally.
Yeah.
Speaking of Lacretia, thank you so much for coming on this episode. Talk about where all the stuff you've got going on and where people can find you online.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm Lacretia Lyon. You can always find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one. I have a podcast where I talk about the soaps, as in the soap operas where Jensen Ackles came from, like Days of Our Lives. It's Bleav, BLEAV, in soap operas. And now we're doing videos. You can find it on YouTube and Facebook and see my face too. But yeah, iTunes, or now it's Apple Podcasts. Let me be more in the know. But yeah, anywhere you can find this podcast, you can find that one. And stay tuned because I have some big announcements. I'm just until it's live, I can't say much.
Ooh, very, very exciting. Yeah. I was a guest on that podcast talking about Supernatural. So if we're not going to get there for 7 years. So if you want to hear my thoughts on the finale, that's a great place to do it. Also, if you want to hear my thoughts on 90s General Hospital, I go pretty deep on that too. So that is great. That is it for us this week. If you have a question about a future or a past episode, maybe you want to have a note for us, something that we maybe missed. We love getting that kind of stuff. All you have to do is reach out to us through our email.
Ghostfacerspodcast@gmail.com.
Or join the conversation about how hot Dean is. How hot Dean is.
Yeah, you can text me that too.
Or just how you want Sam to fucking throw you around.
Yeah.
How climbable Sam is.
Like a goddamn hay bale.
Yeah, I want to fucking just go through I want to go in between him like a redwood. You can always send those photos, have those conversations with us through our social media platforms.
Yeah, we're at Ghostfacers Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
And if you liked this and you heard a little bit of that DC talk and you want a bit more, maybe you're a little bit interested but never really knew how to get into comic books, or you've seen the shows, don't really know more about it, then you can listen to our other podcast.
Yeah, it's the Dr. DC podcast. We answer listener questions about comic books. We talk about the DC universe. Lacretia's been on twice. We did an episode on Constantine, and we did one on Smallville. So if you enjoyed this, that's a great way to jump in on the other end. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Say goodbye, Lacretia.
Bye, guys.
Say goodbye, bitch.
Jerk.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.